There is a quiet space waiting for you tonight, a space where the relentless noise of yesterday can finally soften. If you are here, it is because you carry something heavy, a collection of memories weighted by regret. Let us simply acknowledge that weight, not to judge it, but to rest it. Regret often feels like a physical presence, doesn't it? It sits in the chest, a dull ache or a sharp twist in the gut, whispering stories of what if and if only. We treat regret as an enemy, something we must fight against, something we need to erase with forceful action. But before we can change what is, we must first allow ourselves to feel what has been. Acknowledging the weight of regret is not an act of self-punishment. It is an act of profound honesty. It is finally giving permission for the pain to exist, simply because it did. When we hold on to regret, we are essentially clinging to a specific version of the past, chaining ourselves to a story that has already been written. This attachment is what keeps the pain fresh and sharp. The true nature of memory is not a static recording of events. It is a flowing river. When we revisit those moments of regret, we are not reliving the event itself, but clinging to the shadow cast by it. We mistake the echo for the sound, and the shadow for the substance. Understanding this is the first gentle step toward release. We must recognize that memory and attachment are two separate things. The events themselves, the actions taken, the words spoken, are simply data points in the timeline of life. They happened. Now, we observe them without immediately fusing ourselves to the emotional consequence they have created. This separation allows us to see the past not as a prison cell, but as history. This brings us to the nature of impermanence. Everything that exists is in flux. Just as the light shifts across the sky and the seasons turn, so too do our emotional experiences. The regret you feel right now, though intense, is also temporary. It is a wave. It rises, it crests with all its sorrow, and then, inevitably, it begins to recede. There is no permanent scar that defines you. There is only the feeling of the wound, and the healing process unfolding within the present moment. To move forward, we practice open acceptance. Acceptance does not mean condoning the past or ignoring the pain. It simply means releasing the struggle against reality. It is allowing the memory to be what it is, without adding the suffocating layer of should have or could have. Imagine yourself as a gentle observer sitting by a stream. The memories are the flowing water. You are the still bank, witnessing the movement without trying to stop the current. When we practice this open acceptance, the pain does not vanish instantly, but its intensity changes. It transforms from a frantic, gripping anxiety into a deeper, more manageable ache. This shift is where true strength resides. We begin to recognize that the regret is not a verdict on our character, but rather an energy, a potent source of information about where we need growth. By allowing the weight to settle, by accepting the impermanence of the feeling, we begin to transform that heavy burden. We stop letting the past define the present and start using the memory as fuel. The pain, once a paralyzing force, is now transformed into inner wisdom, a deep understanding of our own capacity for experience, our vulnerability, and our incredible resilience. This transformation is not a sudden leap. It is a slow, steady unfolding. It is finding stillness within the turbulence. In this quiet space, we realize that the strength we seek is not found in erasing the past, but in integrating it, allowing the weight of what was to inform the wisdom of what is. Rest now, and allow this gentle acceptance to settle deep within you. The way we experience the world is deeply tied to our memory. It is not just a collection of facts stored in the mind, but an active process where the past constantly shapes the present moment. When we look back, we often don't see the event itself, but rather the story we have built around it. A narrative infused with judgment, longing, or regret. Memory, in this sense, is a powerful force, capable of pulling us into the realm of what was, making it feel immediate and urgent. It holds the echoes of joy and the sharp edges of sorrow. The challenge lies not in erasing these memories, which is impossible, but in understanding their nature. They are not solid, fixed objects waiting to be revisited. They are fluid currents, shifting sands of experience that flow only into the present moment. Attached to these memories is our attachment. We cling to certain recollections because we mistake them for reality, believing that if we hold on to the past tightly enough, we can somehow control the future or mend the brokenness of what has already happened. This attachment is the root of much suffering. It is the deep need to fix a moment that cannot be changed, or to rewind a tape that has already run. When we attach ourselves to a memory, whether it is a past success, a painful mistake, or a cherished moment, we are creating a bond between our present peace and a past condition. This creates a tension. We are attempting to force the impermanent nature of the past into the solid container of the present. This effort is what generates anxiety and regret. It is the mental struggle against the natural flow of time, trying to stop the current just to hold onto a specific spot. To find true peace, we must gently loosen this grip. We learn to observe our memories not as commands or judgments, but as simply data, as reflections of past experiences that have shaped us. When a memory surfaces, instead of immediately reacting with the emotional weight attached to it, we can pause and witness it. We notice the feeling arising within us, acknowledging it without becoming consumed by it. This practice shifts our relationship with the past entirely. We stop viewing memories as anchors tethering us to old pain and start seeing them as teachers, gentle guides pointing toward our present reality. The memory is no longer a prison cell holding us back. It becomes simply information about where we have been, allowing us to understand how far we have come. By accepting the fluidity of memory, knowing that all experiences are temporary and constantly changing, we release the frantic need for control over what has passed. This acceptance is not resignation. It is a profound act of liberation. It allows us to recognize that our identity is not defined by the events of yesterday, but by the awareness we cultivate in this very moment. The attachment fades when we realize that clinging to the past only creates new suffering. When we allow memories to pass through us without grasping, we create space. This space is where true wisdom resides, the quiet understanding that while the echoes of the past remain, they no longer dictate the rhythm of our life. Rest now in this spacious awareness. Allow your mind to settle into the gentle flow of what is, knowing that you are free from the burden of what was. The mind, as we navigate this space of acceptance, naturally turns inward, seeking a deeper understanding of the landscape we inhabit. We have acknowledged the fluidity of memory, realizing that the past no longer holds us captive but offers lessons. Now, let us turn our attention to the nature of what we are experiencing, the subtle, persistent friction we call suffering. Suffering is not merely the sharp sting of regret or the heavy weight of missed opportunities. It is more subtly woven into the fabric of our awareness. It is the resistance we feel when reality shifts, the anxiety that arises from clinging to a narrative about what should have been instead of resting in the reality of what is. It is the internal tension created by the deep human need for permanence in a world defined entirely by change. To understand this feeling, we must gently introduce the concept of impermanence. Everything, every sensation, every thought, every memory, even the strongest emotions, is in constant flux. Like the water that flows through our hands, or the clouds that drift across the sky, nothing remains fixed. When we experience pain, it is often the natural reaction to this impermanent nature. It is the mind's attempt to hold onto something that has already dissolved. We suffer not because something bad happened, but because we resist the inevitable flow of change and desperately try to stop it. When we look at a painful memory, our minds instinctively try to freeze it, trying to pull that moment back into a fixed shape where the pain ends. This act of resistance is what generates new suffering. It is the battle between the reality of impermanence, that everything changes, and our deep-seated desire for stability. The path forward does not require erasing the past or ignoring the feeling. Instead, it requires cultivating a gentle space between the event and our reaction to it. Imagine your mind as a vast, open sky. The memories are the clouds passing by, some dark, some bright, some fleeting. Our suffering arises when we try to force those clouds to stay put, demanding they remain fixed in place. The practice of understanding impermanence is simply learning to soften that demand. It means observing the memory not as a command or an accusation, but as a passing event, like a breath entering and leaving the body. We allow the feeling of regret to arise, recognizing it for what it is, a temporary echo of a past condition. Then we gently acknowledge the impermanence of that echo, knowing that just as the memory arose, it too will fade, evolving into something new. This acceptance shifts our relationship with pain entirely. We stop seeing suffering as an obstacle to be overcome and start seeing it as a natural consequence of engagement with the temporary world. It is no longer a punishment we must endure, but a signal that we are alive and aware enough to feel deeply. By allowing this understanding to settle within you, you release the frantic grip of control over what has passed. You stop fighting against the flow and instead rest in the spacious awareness of the present moment, knowing that change is not an enemy, but the fundamental nature of existence. This open acceptance is a profound act of liberation. It allows the weight of yesterday to dissolve, freeing the energy you were using to hold onto it, and allowing you to find true stillness within your own being. Rest now in this spacious awareness. We have seen how regret can settle within us, like a heavy shadow cast by moments gone by, a feeling that clings to the edges of the mind, whispering accusations about what was or what should have been. We allow this echo of pain to arise, recognizing it for what it is, a temporary reflection of past conditions. But now we move into a deeper space. This is not the place for fighting, nor for judging the events themselves. This is the invitation to practice open acceptance. Acceptance is not surrender. It is simply seeing things as they are, without the frantic resistance that tries to push them into a different shape than they currently are. Imagine your mind as a vast, quiet sky. When regret arrives, it is just a cloud passing through. A dense, dark shadow that moves across the blue. Our old reaction was to try and push the cloud away, demanding the sky be clear of it. But true acceptance involves simply noticing the cloud's presence. We acknowledge, there is this feeling of regret right now. We stop engaging in the internal drama of wishing things were different or replaying the past endlessly. Open acceptance means recognizing that the memory itself is not the suffering. The suffering is the story we attach to the memory, the relentless narrative of should have and if only. The memory, like a photograph, simply exists. It is an event that happened, a sensation that was felt, and now it is fading. We accept this reality. The past is done, and the present is here. This acceptance shifts our relationship with pain entirely. We stop viewing suffering as an obstacle to be overcome, something to be battled or fixed, and start seeing it as a natural consequence of engagement with the temporary world. Pain is not a punishment. It is information. It is the signal that we are alive, that we have experienced depth, and that we are connected to the flow of life. When we stop resisting this signal, we stop creating secondary suffering by fighting against reality itself. When we allow acceptance to settle, the grip of control over what has passed loosens. The energy we used to expend holding on to the regret, the anxiety, the self-reproach, the mental wrestling match with yesterday, is suddenly released. This released energy is not lost. It flows inward, dissolving the tension and allowing space for something deeper to emerge. Inner strength. This shift allows us to transform that difficult experience. The raw material of pain, once a source of heavy sorrow, becomes fertile ground for wisdom. We begin to see patterns in our lives, not as failures to be lamented, but as lessons woven into the fabric of our existence. Acceptance opens a door where insight can enter, allowing us to look back at the difficult moments not with bitterness, but with compassion, for the person we were then, and for the path that led us there. This is how we find stillness. Stillness is not achieved by eliminating the noise of the world, but by stepping outside the noise and resting in the spacious awareness of the present moment. When you practice open acceptance, you are practicing presence. You are allowing yourself to breathe into this exact second, recognizing that while the memory may linger, your true, living experience resides only now. Rest now in this profound spaciousness. Let the weight of yesterday dissolve into the gentle flow of the now. You are enough and you are simply here. We have learned that acceptance opens a door where insight can enter, allowing us to look back at the difficult moments not with bitterness, but with compassion, for the person we were then, and for the path that led us there. Now, let us turn our attention to the energy that remains within that space of acceptance. This is where the real work of transformation begins. The weight of regret often feels like a fixed burden, something stubbornly stuck in the past. But memory itself is not a prison. It is a river. When we hold on to regret, we are treating the flow of time as linear and static, trapping ourselves in a single moment of sorrow. True wisdom recognizes that memory is merely an unfolding experience, and within that unfolding, there is constant potential. We need to understand that suffering, the pain born from past actions or missed opportunities, is not something to be eliminated, but something to be seen clearly. Think of pain as raw energy. It is the friction created when our reality does not match our expectation. When we allow ourselves to feel that pain fully, without judgment, we acknowledge the reality of the experience. This acknowledgement shifts the energy from a chaotic, reactive state into a grounded, receptive state. This is the pivot point, transforming that painful feeling into inner strength. Strength is not the absence of pain. It is the capacity to hold the pain while simultaneously recognizing its impermanence. When we look at a regretful memory, we can begin to see the resilience that was necessary for us to survive it. We realize that the struggle itself forged a deeper understanding within us. The difficult path did not break us. It refined us. Imagine that every moment of pain is a seed. When we allow ourselves to experience the sorrow fully, we are allowing those seeds to germinate. Instead of letting them rot in bitterness, we nurture them with compassion. We ask the painful question, what did this experience teach me about my limits? What choices were made, and what lessons can I carry forward into the present? This is how we transform regret from a tether dragging us backward into a powerful anchor pulling us forward. The pain no longer defines us. It becomes the fuel for our growth. It becomes the knowledge that we are capable of navigating difficulty. Inner strength is not found in escaping the past, but in integrating the lessons of the past into the vitality of the present moment. To practice this transformation gently, breathe into the memory. Feel the residual tension, acknowledge the sorrow, and then consciously redirect your attention to the energy of resilience that exists within you right now. See the strength it took just to endure. Recognize the wisdom gained from that endurance. This is not denial. This is deep, profound recognition. This process allows us to move beyond the narrative of victimhood and step into the role of the architect of our own response. We are not defined by what happened, but by how we choose to respond to what has happened. By embracing the full spectrum of our experience, the sorrow, the lesson, and the enduring capacity, we find a deep, unshakable inner strength. Rest now in this profound spaciousness. Let the weight of yesterday dissolve into the gentle flow of the now. You are enough and you are simply here. We have walked a long path together, moving through the landscape of memory, acknowledging the weight of what has been, and discovering the profound strength that resides within us. Now, as we arrive at this final stage, we turn our attention to finding stillness. Not an escape from life, but a deep rest within it. The energy we have cultivated is not meant to be stored in the past. It is meant to flow into the present moment. Imagine your mind as a river. For so long, it has been carrying the memories of yesterday, flowing backward, sometimes creating rapids and eddies of regret or yearning. But now we learn that stillness is not about stopping the flow. It is about learning how to rest upon the current. Finding stillness requires us to anchor ourselves firmly in the only place where true change can happen: the present. The past is a fixed landscape, beautiful in its memory, but it is no longer the arena for our action. It is simply history, and the future is an open field of possibility, waiting patiently for the seeds we plant today. To achieve this stillness, we turn to the simplest anchor we possess: the breath. When the mind begins to churn with echoes of yesterday, let the gentle rhythm of your inhale and exhale become the point of your focus. The breath is always here, right now. It is the only reality that exists outside of the grip of memory. When a wave of difficult emotion, a flicker of regret, a shadow of anxiety rises, do not fight it or push it away. Instead, acknowledge it with gentle curiosity. See it as a passing cloud in the vast sky of your awareness. Acknowledge the sorrow, feel the tension, and then consciously redirect your attention back to the physical sensation of the breath entering and leaving your body. This act of observation creates a small, sacred space between you and the emotion. You are not the emotion. You are the space that holds the emotion. This is the practice of open acceptance. It is not passive resignation. It is an active recognition that whatever is happening right now is simply what is happening. By accepting the present moment fully, with all its complexities, both the gentle and the difficult, we release the exhausting effort of resisting reality. The weight of the past dissolves when we stop trying to hold onto it and allow ourselves to simply be. When we settle into this space of acceptance, something remarkable happens. The emotional energy that was previously trapped in the cycle of regret begins to dissipate. In its place, a deep, quiet reservoir of present power emerges. This is not a manufactured strength. It is the innate vitality that has always been within you, waiting for permission to surface. It is the knowledge that you are capable of navigating whatever comes next, simply by being fully present in this moment. Think of your hands. They hold the memory of yesterday, and they reach toward the future. But right now, in this suspended breath, your hands rest. They are still, yet they are immensely powerful. This stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is the deep, unshakable awareness that you are whole, capable, and completely sufficient exactly as you are at this very moment. Let the weight of yesterday gently dissolve into the calm flow of this now. Allow yourself to rest in this profound spaciousness. You do not need to solve everything today. You only need to breathe. You only need to be. This quiet power is yours, always. Rest now. Be still. You are enough.